Days passed by without a word from Gray, which I wouldn't have been too worried about if I hadn't known he'd still been here, running his regular poker nights. That thought was eating at me, knowing was still so close but hadn't once stopped by to say hello. I'm sure now that I'd done something wrong down in the basement the other night. Was he madder than I thought that I had wanted to play a game with them? It wasn't until this morning, when I was lying in bed after my alarm had gone off, that he had finally messaged me asking if we could hang out tonight. I said yes, of course. It's about time I got some answers from him for this sudden silence. It's nearing the end of the day now, and while all of my appointments for today are done, there are a couple of people in the store browsing. I've just finished speaking to a couple when the front door opens, and I look up in time to see a familiar face.
Oh.
Afternoon, sweetheart. Looking lovely as ever, I see. Even croons, earning nothing but a scowl in reply. After his attitude during the poker game the other night, this is the last person I want to have a conversation with. Although it doesn't seem like I have much of a choice. He strolls into the shop, his eyes fixed on me. As he grins, my entire mood sours at the sight of him. What the hell does he want now? I'd appreciate if you didn't come into my store during opening hours, I tell him curtly. I'm trying to run a business here, I add, and a legged one at that.
Oh.
And I admire what you're doing here, trust me. I'll only take a few minutes of your time, even assures me, his tone oddly soft. You're welcome to make an appointment, I say sweetly in return. He gives me a pointed look, and when I don't back down, he lets out a dramatic sigh. Alright, I'll play along. When's your next appointment? He asks. Let me see. I flip open my appointment book on the counter and pretend to scroll through my bookings. He waits as I take my time, releasing the opportunity to get a little payback for his rudeness towards me the other night. My next free appointment is in 3 months from now, I declare with a flourish of the pen I've just picked up. Should I book you in? Cut the games, little doll. I'm here for something important. He bursts out. I cross my arms over my chest, debating whether I should send him packing without another word, though I'd be lying if I said I'm not interested in what he has to say. Fine, I'm listening, I say sharply. Even grins again. I'm in the market to buy a shop. Nothing too fancy, just a nice little business to make a tidy profit from. What kind of business? I ask, my suspicion raised. The smile spreads across his face in a way I'm not sure I like. A boutique would do nicely, something fresh and new, and preferably directly above my base operations. Are you crazy? I'm not selling my business to you. I cut him off abruptly, turning to storm back around the counter. Something tells me you'll soon change your mind, he continues, unfazed by the rejection. And what would make you think that? I spit back at him. He looks me up and down, sizing me up, despite the fact that he towers over me considerably. I'm determined to stand my ground against him. I always get my way, he tells me. Not this time, I promise. Even thinks for a moment, and I can almost see the cogs moving behind his eyes before he turns and waves his arms at my customers. Shop's closed, he growls, and I watch in horror as they make a break for the exit. Get out, all of you, he yells after them, stomping all the way to the front door. I step out from behind the counter and push past, even towards them. Wait, no, we're not closed, I start, but it's too late. They've already dashed through the door and out into the street. What is wrong with you? I turn on even angrily, my fists clenched into balls at my sides. I really could have used those sales. Like I said, I always get what I want. You'll soon find out that I'm not the kind of man you want to cross. He sneers at me. Get out of my store, I screech, so furious I can almost feel the steam pouring from my ears. Even gives me a last knowing grin before heading for the door, looking awfully pleased with himself. The door swings open before he reaches it, revealing Gray. He looks between the two of us, from my furious flushed face to even smudged grin in puzzlement. Jansen even greets him before pushing past and heading through the door. At least he's gone for now. Gray turns to me as he even leaves the boutique, his expression confused. Is everything okay? He asks. If by okay you mean even scaring all my customers out of the store, then yeah, just peachy. I scoff as I throw my arm in frustration. Gray runs a hand over his face, his expression pissed as he looks behind him, as though considering whether he should go after Even right away. I told him to stay away from you. He obviously needs to be told again, and more firmly this time. He glowers. He was trying to talk me into selling the store to him, I tell Gray, drawing his attention back to me. How does he expect to convincingly run a fashion boutique? I think out loud. The man's an oaf. Gray ponders the thought for a moment, his eyes fixed on the door Even had walked through mere moments ago. He's trying to use it as a front for the business, he says. Yeah, that much is obvious, I huff in exasperation. I can see why he wants it. It's inconspicuous and convenient. Gray continues. Any fluctuation in profits he can explain away easily enough. It sounds like you've thought about this before, I say in accusation. I just know the way he thinks about these things, he explains with a grim look. I'm really not comfortable having him around, I confess. This entire scheme you've got going on with him, I may tolerate it, Gray, but... Gray takes a step back and his face falls slightly. I know, Gray says gently. There are things I wish I didn't have to do either. What do you mean? I ask. Look, I'll make sure nothing happens to your boutique, okay? Sensing he wants to change the subject, I comply. Alright, fine. Are we still on for tonight? I ask. Gray hesitates. Actually, I'm going to have to cancel on tonight. Oh, I stop what I'm doing to turn to him. Something came up, something I need to take care of as soon as possible, he explains. Something about him seems off, And I get the feeling that this news about Evan has shaken him up more than he's willing to let on. First, I don't hear from you in days, and now you're canceling on our plans? Is there something going on that I should know about? I blurt out. It's starting to feel like there's a lot more going on Gray isn't telling me about. No, it has nothing to do with you, trust me. So you're not mad at me? Mad? Why would I be mad at you? The other night in the basement, when I said I would play a game, I trail off. Gray sighs again, as though he's only just realized now. The thought didn't thrill me, and I'll admit that I've been trying to keep all of that out of your hair, but I'm not mad at you. I've just had a lot on my plate. I'm sorry for not saying anything sooner. Okay, well, maybe we can do something on the weekend, I ask hopefully. Gray looks at me finally, his expression softening as he steps closer. Yeah, that would be great, he says. He leans in and kisses me, pulling away much too soon. I'm really sorry, he says again. I say goodbye and wave him off with a sad smile. I'd been looking forward to finally spending some time with him, but it seems like I'll have to wait a little longer. The next day, I stand at the counter in the boutique, drumming my fingers along the surface and letting out a sigh. The store has been dead all day, and I don't understand why. Usually around this time, I'd have a few people come in to browse on their way home from work. I head over to the windows and peer through, wondering where everyone could be today. Maybe there's a parade in the city, or some apocalyptic event is taking place, keeping everyone away. When I look out onto the street, I see people coming and going like always, and then my spirits lift when I notice a customer approaching the boutique. Finally, I recognize her as one of my regulars. She works in a store nearby and often stops in on her way home from work to browse my new items. A couple of men step up to the woman and say a few words. She looks confused, her eyebrows deep in the middle, before she abruptly turns and leaves. I pull the front door open so hard I'm surprised I haven't ripped it off its hinges before stepping out into the street. Hey, I called to the two men. It's now that I notice that I've seen them hanging out with even before, and I curse beneath my breath. Of course, he would have something to do with this. What do you think you're doing? I questioned them. We're under strict instructions not to let anyone into this shop. The shorter of the two men folds his arms across his chest, grinning at me spudgily. You're not supposed to tell her that. The other guy, balding and wearing a black coat, smacks his friend on the back of his head. You need to leave before I call the cops. I stand my ground, my voice shaking in anger. You could call the bloody queen, love. No one's going to move us from this spot, the bald man argues. This is my property. Please leave, I say firmly. No can do. The bald man crosses his arms over his chest, digging his heels in. Because, you see, when we're given a job, we make sure to see it through. Surely, You have better things to do than stand here on the street all day. I attempt to reason with them. Don't you have families, hobbies? The shorter of the two gives me a toothy smile. Well, this is my coin collection. I've got coins from all over the world, and sometimes I like to take the time to just sit there and shush. The bald man cuts him off from speaking, knocking the dreamy look from his face with the nudge to the arm. No one wants to hear about your bloody coin collection, he says to him. She asked. Jordy argues. Because she's trying to trick us into leaving instead of doing our job. Baldy sneers. Isn't that right, love? With a frustrated growl, I storm back into the boutique and head for the counter, searching for my phone. I need to think a better solution for getting rid of them. Scrolling through my contacts, I found Gray's name and pressed the little icon beside it, holding the device to my ear while I glare out the front window. The phone rings a few times before getting its voicemail. I try twice more, but still there's no answer. I hopelessly rack my brain for another idea. I need to get these guys away from my building, and I know that calling the cops will do no good. I hit Sarah's name and dial her number. Hey, her cheery voice sounds through the phone. Sarah, I've got an emergency and I need your help. Can you come by to the store? I speak quickly. Oh my God, what happened? Are you hurt? Are you sick? She asks frantically. No, I'm fine. It's just... I'll explain when you get here. I cut her short, my tone impatient. I'll come over as soon as I can, she assures me before hanging up. Sarah arrives about half an hour later. The men outside have managed to scare off another few customers during that time, despite my efforts to thwart them. Can't we just call the cops? Sarah asked after I explained the situation to her, as outraged as I am. You know that would just make things worse, I tell her. Alright, so we take things into our own hands. The window in your bedroom has the best view of the street, right? She asks, her smile turning wicked. Yes. Why? What are you thinking? I arch my eyebrows. Tomorrow morning, we'll mix together a nasty concoction from the kitchen and dump it all over their big heads. She grins. They'll have no choice but to leave, and if we make it disgusting enough, I'm sure they won't be back in a hurry. I stare at her for a moment, completely dumbfounded. That's actually a really good idea, I tell her as I take a mental inventory of my pantry. There's bound to be tons of random things in there that we can use. But what if they keep coming back? I ask, troubled by the thought. Then they'll have a bucket of muck waiting with their names on it, she says gleefully. I blow out a breath as I think the idea through. There's every chance that Evan will find another way to get at me, but I can't just sit back and do nothing. What are you doing tonight? Do you want to stay over? I asked Sarah, my mind made up. Of course, it'll be just like old times, she winks. Yup, it wasn't too long ago that we were just two single girls with only each other for company, I say with a sigh. I have to admit that I really like having Jed and Gray around, though. Sarah winks in response. I think back on earlier to Gray canceling his plans with me, to him having barely spoken a word to me all week, and I sighed. Yeah, me too. The next morning, I wake up and get ready for work as usual, shower, brush my teeth, eat breakfast, and pick out a comfortable outfit for our mission this morning. Gray never called me back, but he did send me a message late last night saying he had been busy and would call me today. I felt weird after reading it and confused by the distance that seems to be growing between us, right when I thought things were picking up. Shaking that thought from my head, I head downstairs to open the boutique for the day, but instead of locking the front door, I peek through the curtains covering the windows. Jordy and Baldy are already there, the same guys from yesterday. I scowl at their backs and poke out my tongue before turning and sprinting back up the stairs to my home. They're here, I tell Sarah as I enter the kitchen, taking a moment to catch my breath. She grins in a way that I can only describe as maniacal, and if I didn't know any better, I'd say she's enjoying herself. I spot the blender she's pulled out and set on the counter next to a large mixing bowl. Let's get to work, she says. What should we add to our moron-repelling potion first? Opening the fridge, I take a peek inside. I like to cook most of my meals at home, so my kitchen is usually well stocked. Ketchup and mustard seem like a good start, I offer. Perfect. Sarah approves. I hand the bottles over, watching her squeeze a generous amount of each into the blender. How about some lemon juice? Hopefully it'll get in their eyes. I giggle after cutting a fresh lemon in half and squeezing the juice into the blender. Oh, and chili pepper. I pull a small container from my spice rack. That'll give them a nasty kick. No, let's be truly evil here, she says as she picks up a bottle of chili flakes. One of these bad guys in your eyes and you'll be crying for your mommy in no time. It's not going to permanently damage their eyes, right? I ask cautiously. Sarah shrugs nonchalantly. As long as they don't continue rubbing it in, I don't see how it could have lasting damage. We search through the kitchen for a few more ingredients, adding vinegar, honey, pickled juice, and soy sauce to the mix. We blend everything up, pouring half the contents into the mixing bowl. That smells revolting. I gag at the stench wafting up towards my nose. That's the point, Sarah says proudly. Who'd want to stand around on the street all day smelling like garbage disposal? Sarah takes the bowl with her hand and we head to my bedroom, giggling like a couple of schoolgirls. I climb on top of the dresser and slide open the window, peering out over the street. I can see them. I whisper to Sarah as she joins me. You take the bald guy there, and I'll take the short one, she says as she raises the bowl, ready to tip the contents out over our unsuspecting victims. Ready? I ask Sarah, who nods in return. 1, 2, on 3. She pours the contents out over the men, hearing the splatter of the mix before they shriek out loud. We quickly back from the window, and I shove a hand over my mouth to keep from laughing out loud. I can still hear their moans and groans drifting up through the open window, and we know without a shade of a doubt that they'll know who just tipped the liquefied contents of their kitchen all over their heads. Unable to resist any longer, we sneak towards the window in time to see the two buffoons dashing across the road, covered in a brown sticky mess and yelling out about their burning eyes. You'd better leave, Sarah shouts at them from the window. There's more where that came from. I join her, trying to stifle my laughter. We watch as they disappear down the street before heading down to the boutique, where I pull open the curtains and unlock the front door. This time, thankfully, I find the sidewalks outside free from any of Evan's friends. That was amazing. Sarah comes up behind me, raising her hand for a high five. I give her a grateful smile, and as I slap my hand against hers, thanks for helping out. My pleasure, she says with a grin. If you don't mind, I might stick around for a while. Make sure they don't come back. Somehow I doubt those two will be back anytime soon, at least not before they've managed to scrub every inch of themselves clean. But I'm on high after our plan worked out perfectly, and I'm enjoying spending this time with Sarah. Be my guest, I say. We get stuck into a few odd jobs, dusting shelves, cleaning mannequins, tidying racks, but as the day drags on, there are still no customers in sight. It doesn't take long for me to come crashing down from my height after realizing that chasing away Evan's guys has done absolutely nothing to help. I don't understand what's going on, I say out loud, talking to Sarah, who is perched on a stool behind the counter. Not a single person has come in here since those idiots left, I sigh. Maybe it'll take a little while for things to pick up again, she suggests as she flips through a fashion magazine. I try to agree with her, but somehow I still have my doubts. For some reason, there's a thread of unease pulling at me, telling me that I've overlooked something. Grabbing my phone, I search Raindrop online, making sure the opening hours are listed correctly. And that's when I see it. The search engine brings up new reviews for the business, dozens of them in fact. I scroll through the reviews, all of them 1 star and riddled with scathing remarks. The more I scroll, the more they appear, until my screen is unreadable through the tears that have blurred my vision. What's happened? Sarah asks as she comes over to me and looks over my shoulder. I hold the phone up to her, letting her skim through the reviews. That rotten garbage can, she swears as she pulls her phone from her pocket and taps on the screen. I'll help you go through and report them, she says, and I can tell from her tone that she's trying to contain her anger. What's the use? I sniffle, feeling absolutely defeated. Even we'll just come up with some other way to get at me. I wish you'd go to the police, Sarah says again, and have them find out what's going on in the basement. My basement, I stress. You can't let even win, she insists. I throw my arms up helplessly. What else am I supposed to do? I don't know. Maybe Nikki and the gang could help out. Maybe. Although I prefer avoiding asking the old gang for help, I say. Sarah scoffs at that. After what you did for them at the bar, I say they'd be more than happy to repay the favor. I'm distracted by my phone ringing, and I wipe away my tear with the back of my hand before glancing at the caller ID. It's Gray, I say shakily. My heart yearns for his comfort at a time like this. That's good. Maybe he'll have an idea of what to do, Sarah says hopefully. Swiping the icon to my phone, I hold it to my ear to answer. Hello? Hey, you sound a little off. Are you okay? Gray asks through the receiver. Yeah, I'm fine, I lie, not really wanting to get into the details over the phone. Your voice cracked, he presses. The concern in his voice makes me even more upset, and a little hiccup escapes me. It's even he. What did he do? Gray asks, his tone suddenly going dark. He's ruined everything, I cry. I hear Gray swearing to himself through the phone before he speaks again. I'm coming over right now. I'm 5 minutes away, okay? Yeah, says. Okay, I say, pulling the phone from my ear and pressing the icon to end the call. Gray's on his way, I explain to Sarah, swallowing a weight around the lump in my throat. She lets out a relieved breath before she pockets her phone and reaches for her jacket. I'll head off and give you some space to talk, but call me later, okay? She urges. I promise her I will, waving goodbye as she heads to the door and disappears out onto the street. Gray arrives when he said he would, and not a moment later. When he wraps his arms around me and pulls me into a hug that tears start to fall all over again. I breathe in his scent, letting it calm me as he squeezes me tight. Hey, it's okay, he says as he pulls back, my tears staining the front of his shirt. Let's go upstairs. I want you to tell me everything. We head up to my living room where we sit on the couch together. I pull my knees up and face him. I'm sure my eyes are swollen and my face is blotchy from tears, but he doesn't seem to mind. It's alright, I'm here. What happened? He asks, concerned. I relay the story to him, sparing no details and watching his face fall further the longer I talk. Although the boutique has been doing well since I opened it, it's still just a small business, I explained to him, feeling the emotions bubble up in my chest once again. Even a couple of negative reviews can be bad for business, but getting reviewed bomb But getting review bombed like this is practically a death sentence. I sniffle. We'll find a way to have the reviews removed. Gray assures me. Surely we can do that. It's difficult to do, and it can take a lot of time. To tell you the truth, at this point, I don't have much hope. I tell him. Gray curses beneath his breath. He looks mad enough to tear someone apart limb from limb. He's gone too far this time. He sees, fists opening and closing as though he is imagining even snack between them. I'm so sorry that this happened. I shouldn't have let it get this far, he adds. I should have done something. I can take care of myself, I assure him, though my voice is still trembling with emotion. He looks at me softly, calming himself down as he slips a hand behind my neck and guides me closer. I know you can, he whispers. Gray leans in to kiss me, his lips gentle when they find mine, slowly picking up speed. I clutch the front of his shirt and kiss him back, letting myself fall into him and forget all about the events of the day. Though it's only been a few days, I've missed this. We've barely had the chance to spend any time alone together. But right now, we have all the time in the world, and I'm looking forward to Gray finally making good on his promise to take his time with me. The sound of a message alert has Gray pulling back from me, and when he reaches over to check his phone screen, his face hardens. I have to go, he says abruptly, frowning at the device as he pushes himself to his feet. You only just got here, I interrupt, the worry beginning to set in. Gray tears his case from his phone to look at me, though his eyes are strangely cold. I know. I'm sorry. Is everything alright? I ask. It'll be, he assures me. He kisses me one last time before he heads for the door, disappearing from the room in a matter of seconds. I stare after him, completely at a loss for words. But now I know more than ever that the only person I should be relying on for any help is myself and the people that are loyal to me. I refuse to shed any more tears when I know that I have a way to solve this problem with even if it means diving back into my past to do it. Picking up my phone, I search through my contacts until I find the one I'm looking for, Nikki.